When I posted that I was going to the Tokyo Olympics, like so many people messaged me to say, like, because of me, they've encouraged their kids to get into sport. And I think ultimately that's what I wanted. I wanted young children to dream big and to realize like they have so much potential, and to sort of allow them the opportunity to think that they can do and be and achieve anything that they want to in life. And when I received those messages, I felt like I did my job right.
Today's guest on The Game Changers is Ramla Ali, a British Somali boxer, Olympian, model and UNICEF UK ambassador. From fleeing conflict in Somalia as a child to secretly learning boxing in East London, Ramla went on to become the first Somali, male or female, to compete for a world title. Ramla is an icon in her community and for millions of young women, many of whose lives have been touched by her organisation, the Sisters Club, which supports thousands of women annually with free sports and fitness activities for mental health and self-defence. Ramla uses her global platform not just to break barriers in sport, but to fight for women, girls and refugee children everywhere. A new Hollywood film about Ramla's extraordinary life in the shadows will be released next year. So Ramla, you've just returned from visiting the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya. Can you describe a little of what that experience was like for you personally?
This trip was like years in the making. And just being there and just seeing all these incredible people, I saw so much of myself in each and every person. And it was truly like humbling experience. And it just like made you value my life personally so much more. And it's, made me so thankful to have the parents that I had who'd sacrificed so much to take us away from such a conflict zone that was Somalia, bring us to safety here in London and the UK. And just the whole experience is just to repeat again, just truly humbling. And I was just so honoured to just be amongst all those incredible people that I met in Dadaab.
Another specific moments that will stick with you long term and carry forever. I look on social media, you can see the amazing, photos and videos of you and the work you're doing and the people you're meeting. But are there particular moments you think that will really stick with you?
In general, just to see how enthusiastic and so full of life everyone was, from the outside looking in, like before I went, I didn't think that I would get to see that. I had my own perceptions of what everyone would be like in the camp, and it was completely different. Everyone was just so happy to be alive and just happy to be there and just so full of life. And everybody had a dream and everybody had a goal. And that was truly just amazing to witness. And I think one particular story that really, really hit me was a young girl that I had met. And it was in a program that is run by UNICEF called Young Mothers Program, I believe. So it's like young girls who, through either forced child marriages, rape, had kids from a young age. And this one particular girl was raped at the age of 14 and had a child. And I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with her. And she was telling me, when she was a child, she had these hopes and dreams and aspirations of becoming a model, like a supermodel, because South Sudanese women are just stunning. They're like 6 foot whatever, legs up to here. And, she had this dream of becoming a supermodel. And she said when she had given birth, those dreams had gone out the window because she felt getting pregnant and having the child had ruined her body. And so as a result, she had a new dream of, she now wanted to become a doctor to help young girls who are in similar positions to herself. And, she had like a plan, like I'm going to go to boarding school and I'm going to leave my daughter with my mother. And, this is what I'm going to do for myself and for my family. And just to see that hope in her face and just how full of life she was is just what I was talking about at the beginning. It's just, yeah, it was just so incredible to see, witness, and to hear.
Yeah, and that importance of hope, isn't it? What role do you feel that UNICEF is playing on the ground to support those children and young people?
I mean, UNICEF is just truly incredible because they have so many amazing programs within these camps. As a result of this Young Mothers program, the girls they're taught skills, so they're able to then use their skills to start businesses. These young girls, 10 of them together, through learning how to do hair, do makeup, do nails, give facials, like started a salon within Dadaab, and that's what they're using to, look after themselves and look after their families. And they say they get a great income, and there's this amazing sisterhood between all of them because, I asked one of them, what would happen if hypothetically you made more money than the other 9 girls? And she said, well, no, we're a team, we're a family. What I make at the end of the day, I make sure we share between the 10 of us, because if I eat, everyone gets to eat. And it's not fair if I'm the only person that eats. And that really just hit me, and it kind of reminded me of the message of my own charity, Sisters Club, in that all the women within the Sisters Club community are sisters. And yeah, it was incredible to hear that.
Very powerful. And you mentioned then the bravery of your parents. So can you tell us a little bit more of your story and how you ended up as a refugee and coming to the UK?
Yeah, I was born during the civil war of Somalia. My brother died as a result of being struck by a stray grenade. And my parents made the incredible decision of, taking us from danger. And my mum didn't want what had happened to her eldest to happen to the rest of us. So we fled Somalia. We hid in a truck, basically, off the coast of Somalia, Kismayo. We hid in a cave for a bit and waited for a boat. People were scrambling to get on because everybody was fleeing danger. So we got from Kismayo to Mombasa, where we had some relatives who were there. And my mum was telling me how, when we were in Mombasa, she'd queue up for aid. It's so important to have that. And so she was queuing up and, making sure we had food in our bellies and, we had a warm place to stay. And so from Kenya, we sought asylum in the UK as war refugees. And as a result, my mum instilled in us the importance of education, and me and all my siblings got degrees, and we were literally fleeing war. We were literally fleeing, the dangers of war. Like, my brother was killed, and we'd left everything behind. My mum doesn't have a single picture of us in Somalia. And she finds it quite hard because all the memories are there. I just came back from a trip actually in Somalia. I stayed there 10 days post Dadaab refugee camp, and I got to see the house that I was born in.
Oh, wow.
And it's changed so much. It's all boarded up. And it was great to see.
But you're right. People don't leave their homes and travel across the world without the rationale to do so. You don't just up and leave. UNICEF has warned that along with dying from preventable diseases, millions more children could be out of school by 2026 because of the recent aid cuts. And the UK government took the decision to cut the aid budget by 40% by 2027. So from your visit and experiences and your work with UNICEF UK, what difference do you think that funding, the aid funding or the lack of aid funding, will be making to children's lives?
Huge. So the day that I was I got to meet the young mothers, one of the young mothers had collapsed, and that was a result of severe dehydration. So, aid is currently being cut, yes, and more of it will be cut by 2027, I believe. But the water allowance per person, per household, has been cut by half. And she was there. We were just talking and she just collapsed because Kenya's extremely hot, and I'm sure they should be drinking double what I'm drinking here in cold London, but they're not because of the aid cuts. And it's horrible to think the people that will be affected the most with these cuts are young children. They don't deserve it. They've done nothing wrong. Yeah, and that's, just horrible to think about. But it wasn't even just the one girl. I was in Dadaab for two full days, and within 2 full days, 3 young girls had collapsed from severe dehydration.
And what would you want listeners to take away in terms of taking action? What can we do from here, both to learn more about it, but also in terms of encouraging the government or MPs to support more?
Exactly. Write to your local MPs and, urge them to reconsider what they're doing. It's so heartbreaking to just something that should be like a basic human right, that they're not even being afforded that opportunity. It's heartbreaking. But yeah, just write to your local MPs and urge them to reconsider these decisions.
And I'll share some links in the show notes as well to show the direction and actions people can take too. And what role do you think sport can play in giving hope and opportunities to refugee children?
So when I was in the camp, I was fortunate enough to go and see one of, I believe it's a UNICEF. So UNICEF support this program called Film Aid, and it's getting young refugee children, kids into film and TV and giving them the basic skills to learn how to do photography, videography, directing, producing, all of that. And I watched this film that they'd made on the impact of climate change on them. And it was, showing that football, how it's affecting them together with the aid cuts. So a lot of the kids were collapsing when they were playing football because they couldn't drink enough water, and sometimes they would have severe rain and their pitches would get flooded, and so they can no longer play. But having something like sport to just take your mind off everything, I feel like it's so important to young kids. It teaches them a lot about health, looking after themselves, and it's doing so in a fun way.
And I think you talk about human rights, and actually the right to just play as a child and have joy and all that we know sport brings in terms of community and belonging and all those things. That's so, so important, isn't it?
Brotherhood, sisterhood, you lose all of that.
And obviously sports played a really key part in your role too, and the work that you're doing. But when you arrived in the UK as a refugee, you found boxing. So, I mean, it almost feels bizarre to say that and to think that. But how did that happen? How did that come about?
Honestly, I wish I could give oh yeah, so my dad used to box and I walked. No, honestly, it wasn't that. I used to get bullied in school for being overweight. And one day my sister took me to the gym, and I remember, so, back then we didn't have Instagram and, or TikTok, and you couldn't see workouts to do. And I remember feeling so out of place and so uncomfortable in this gym that was just full of men. So I just started walking around the gym, and I noticed a boxercise class, and I walked in and I fell in love with it. And from that, I had researched local boxing gyms in the area, and the rest is history. But it literally could have been any sport. It wasn't like I have to learn boxing. I could have walked into a Taekwondo class and I would have been a Taekwondo athlete. So it was just the first sport that, I found, and I just fell in love with it.
And what was it about boxing that you so loved, especially as you say, such a male-dominated sport too?
Such a male-dominated sport. But I think back then, the thing that I loved the most is, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing in a normal gym because we didn't have these apps. And I liked the idea of someone telling me what to do and I didn't have to think for myself. And at the same time, I was getting healthy and I was looking after myself. And similar to what you were saying about sport, in that you create friendships and you create bonds with other people. And it wasn't something that I really had in school because I was getting bullied. So I found this like community of friends within the boxing gym. And yeah.
And your family didn't know, we didn't let your family know about it, didn't really approve at the beginning. So what was the turning point in that relationship with your parents when they shifted and then almost realised it was something that they could be really proud of? There's a story you shared recently on your Instagram about your mum, a post where you said your mum now asks you about training and if you're dieting before a competition so she can feed you and cook for you.
Somali food is the best. It's amazing, but it's not the healthiest, unfortunately. I think the turning point for my mum was when I told her that I wanted to compete for Somalia. And also, like, I have this incredible uncle who is like super team Ramla, and it's my mum's older brother. And, he sort of told her the positive impact that I would be having amongst young Somali children and encouraging them to get healthier themselves. Like, if they could see me on the big stage, it would encourage them to like get fit, get healthy, because, we have a lot of diabetes and high blood pressures and things like that within the Somali community. And he was just telling my mom like what a positive thing it is, what I'm doing. And I think that's when she came round. And now, she's like my biggest fan. And she asks me, can I feed you? Can you eat cake? And, thinking about that and thinking about that many years ago, I would have never have envisaged me and my mum having these types of conversations in the future.
And did you imagine in those early days of discovering boxing that it might take you to the Olympics, to a world title fight? How far in were you in terms of training and loving the sport when that came across your radar, or you realised it was something you could do?
I never realised that I could make boxing into a career. I mean, even now, it's not really a career, let's be honest. Women don't get paid nearly enough as men. But I think it was when I met my husband and he told me, look, you can do this, is when I truly started to believe in myself. I feel like I just needed to hear it from someone. And, it was never going to be my parents, let's be honest. And it was kind of him as well that brought my mum around. But it was probably the belief that he had in me that made me believe in myself.
Yeah. And you went on to become the first Somali, male or female, to compete for a world title in boxing. So what did that milestone then mean for you, your family, your mum's brother, your uncle, a super Ramla fan?
I think the biggest milestone before that was qualifying and going to the Tokyo Olympics, because no athlete outside of literally just running for Somalia has ever done any other sport.
Wow.
Nothing. So it was like something so different. And now we have all these, I don't want to say because of me, I'm sure they were doing it themselves, but like, I want to take a little bit of credit, but because of me, let's say, we now have taekwondo athletes. There's a guy that contacted me the other day who's a swimmer and he wants to do it for Somalia. And it's so incredible to think that I've paved the way for all these amazing athletes to like emerge from the country or want to represent Somalia. And when I posted that I was going to the Tokyo Olympics, the amount of messages that I'd received, and even when I was like holding the flag at the opening ceremony, like so many people messaged me to say like what an inspiration I am, and that, because of me, they've encouraged their kids to get into sport. And I think ultimately that's what I wanted. I wanted young children to dream big and to realize like they have so much potential, and to sort of allow them the opportunity to think that they can do and be and achieve anything that they want to in life. And when I received those messages, I felt like I did my job right.
Absolutely. And you've also modelled for some of the biggest fashion houses. So how do you balance that world of high-end fashion with the sort of grit and the brutality of boxing? They seem like they're quite contradictory.
They're very contradictory, but you know what? I always say, if when you book me, you know what you're getting. I'm a boxer, right? So, I might turn up with a black eye, or it could happen. Like, that comes with the territory. And I've been fortunate enough, and I've worked with so many brands that have just never minded me turning up with a black eye or stitches, or not being able to do exactly what they wanted in a campaign because I've got a shoulder injury or I've got this and that. And I've just been so lucky to have worked with all these like incredible brands that have been so accommodating to me as a boxer.
Yeah, you, as you say, you as the whole person, isn't it? You've also been on the front cover of Vogue, Marie Claire. You were selected as Time Woman of the Year. So what do those accolades mean to you in comparison to, the Olympic Games and those sporting accolades? Do they feel different?
I mean, they feel like super different, but then it all like meshes into one. I feel like, I'm on the cover of British Vogue because I've achieved all these things, and I'm Time Woman of the Year because I'm doing so much for Sisters Club, or I've done this and I've done that. And it's two very different worlds, but I feel like they're merging together like perfectly. And I'm just so blessed to be a part of both worlds, because the people that I meet in one, I wouldn't necessarily meet the other in that world. And it's so nice that I can, meet all these incredible people. And I'm truly honoured to be a part of both.
And you mentioned then the Sisters Club and being recognised for all you've created there, incredible initiatives. So can you tell us that might not know much about it, but a little more about it and the impact it's having on the women that are involved?
Yeah. Sisters Club was birthed in 2018, and it started off as me volunteering an hour of my time a week to teach women how to box. Bearing in mind, at this point in my life, I was working 3 jobs to fund my boxing career because, as I mentioned, women don't get paid enough. And so I decided I wanted to teach women to box. And, the type of women that I was targeting were like women that found it really hard to gain access to sports. So like the religious minorities, the ethnic minorities, and the women that came from low-income families. And over time as well, a lot of women that had suffered from domestic violence were like gravitating towards the class. And what initially turned into like a 6-month passion project has grown incredibly over the years. So now we have 4 boxing classes a week in London and 1 in New York. We have a run club, we have a basketball club, and we have a football club. And then we also have a run club in Florida as well. And it's just growing, and it's allowing like these vulnerable groups of women to feel empowered, to create bonds of sisterhood with other Sisters Club members. And one actually success story, not success, but
a story to celebrate, or
a story to celebrate is one of the girls who was getting beaten up so badly by her husband, who found the courage to leave him and now coaches for Sisters Club.
Oh, wow.
One of the best stories to have come from Sisters Club. So
yeah,
the mission that I had in the beginning, hearing that just made me so glad that I started it in the first place.
Yeah, so proud. That's like the full circle there, isn't it? Her giving back
100%, yeah.
And as well as being a boxer and a model and a UNICEF UK ambassador, you're now going to be the subject of a Hollywood film to be released next year. So In the Shadows.
Yeah.
I just wonder how you feel. What does it feel like to know your life is going to be portrayed on the big screen?
I remember when we first started filming last year, the production designer came up to me and said, "So how does it feel like you're you're still young and you're still an active athlete, and yet a film is being made about you. Whereas people are towards the end of their careers, or like they're, 60, 70, and they're not having anything made about them. How do you feel? And I said, you know what? It's incredible because yes, it's a sports story about me and boxing, but more than anything, it's a positive migrant story. And it's also like a positive interracial love story as well between myself and my husband. And yeah, I just can't believe some people wanted to have made a film about me, and like people are gonna want to watch it. It's like, it's so bizarre, but yeah, again, truly humbling, and I'm so honored.
You're clearly someone who's challenged stereotypes. So what do you hope that your activity will enable young girls and refugees everywhere to know about the potential for them to follow their own path? Because that really feels as if that's the kind of message you're giving.
Yes, there was actually a group of young girls that I met in Dadaab. We sat down and we were talking about how I just wanted to get to know them, basically. And one of the girls asked me, how did you sort of change people's perceptions of, a Somali girl getting into boxing? Because I personally want to be a psychologist, and I'm being told that I shouldn't be going to school because I should be learning to stay at home and cook and be a housewife. But that's not what I want to do. And just her asking me that has already allowed my story to change the minds of other people. And it's, because of me, she's wanting to be a psychologist, and my story is showing her that she can do and she can be anything that she wants to be. And it's just quite nice to know about.
And what's next for you now? So in sport, when you've got another fight coming up on fashion and your humanitarian work, in each of those areas, what's coming up?
So the only thing that I know is coming up is that I'll next be competing in December, fingers crossed, or God willing. I always say that because my mum has always taught me to say that because of my brother passing away when we were in Somalia. Life is never certain. And that's why I don't like to plan things too far ahead. So I'm just going to start training for that.
What's it called, you say? A Beacon? The name of the event you're preparing for?
It will just be a fight in December.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just don't like to plan too far ahead. For that, I'm going to start training soon, and just to get ready for that. But that's the only thing I have planned coming up. Everything else is just as and when it comes, basically.
I like that approach to life. Leave the space, create the vacuum, and who knows what will come into it.
Exactly. I love to live spontaneously as well. A friend of mine just messaged me. She's like, hey, do you want to come to Turkey? And I was this close to saying yeah. But then I was like, oh, honestly, I'm so tired. I traveled so much last week. I just want to just rest for a bit. But yeah, I just love to live in the moment. I've actually deleted all my social media since January of 2024 because I just want to live in the moment. I don't want to be tied to my phone and scrolling away and just wasting life away. I just want to be in the present and be surrounded by people that I love, and just, yeah.
That's such a powerful thing to do, isn't it? And such a powerful message as well, to live for the now and the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
And just finally, if you could deliver one message to governments and people in general about children and adults in refugee camps, what would you say? What would be your kind of closing message there?
I think the closing message is that everyone is a human being. So treat everyone as a human being. Yeah, short and sweet. There you go.
I think we might all be joining Super Team Ramla after that interview. If you'd like to hear from other trailblazers in sport, there are more than 200 episodes of The Game Changers that are free to listen to on all podcast platforms, or from our website at fearlesswomen.co.uk. Guests include elite athletes, along with coaches, broadcasters, scientists, journalists and CEOs, all women who are changing the game in sport. As well as listening to all the episodes on the website, you can also find out more about the Women's Sport Collective, a free, inclusive community for all women working in sport. We now have over 14,000 members across the world, so please do come and join us. The whole of my book, Game On, The Unstoppable Rise of Women's Sport, is also free to listen to on the podcast. Every episode of Series 13 is me reading a chapter of the book. Thank you to Sport England, who support the Game Changers with a National Lottery Award, and to Sam Walker at What Goes On Media, who does such a brilliant job as our executive producer. Thank you also to my brilliant colleague at Fearless Women, Kate Hannon. You can find the Game Changers on all podcast platforms, so follow us now and you won't miss out on future episodes. Do come and say hello on social media, where you'll find me on LinkedIn and Instagram at Sue Anstiss. The Game Changers. Fearless Women in Sport.